All right, ladies, I need you to sit down for a second and really let this land because what I'm about to say is going to change the entire way you think about love, relationships, and the kind of energy you carry into every single interaction you have with a man. This is not just another feel good piece of advice. This is raw, this is real, and this is something that most people are way too scared to say out loud. So buckle up because we are about to go deep. Here is the concept. The one thing I want you to burn into your brain starting right now. A man may respect you without ever truly loving you. Let that sink in. He can look at you, admire you, even tell his friends about you without his heart being fully invested. But here is the flip side, the one that most women completely miss, and it is the part that changes everything. A man will never, and I mean never, be able to genuinely love you without respecting you first. Respect is not the cherry on top of love. Respect is the foundation. It is the ground floor. It is the concrete that everything else gets built on. Love without respect is just a feeling floating in the air with nothing holding it up. It collapses. It crumbles. And when it falls apart, it takes you down with it. My name is Ismael Gomez. I am a coach, a writer, and a speaker who has spent years sitting across from women just like you. Women who are brilliant, beautiful, and deeply capable of love, but who keep running into the same wall over and over again. And after all those conversations, all those coaching sessions, all those raw and honest moments, I have identified 5 principles, 5 game-changing, life-shifting principles that men deeply and genuinely respect when it comes to the women in their lives. These are not tricks. These are not games. These are not manipulation tactics. These are deeply rooted truths about what makes a woman magnetic, powerful, and utterly irresistible to a high-quality man. But before we dive in, let me give you the most important piece of this puzzle. Let me tell you what respect actually means, because I think a lot of people throw this word around without truly understanding what they are asking for. The definition I love the most, the one that hits the hardest, comes from the Cambridge Dictionary. It says that respect is to accept that something is right or important and not attempt to change it or harm it. Read that again. To accept that something is right or important and not attempt to change it or harm it. So what does that mean for you? It means that if you want a man to respect you, he has to see you as right. He has to see you as important, not as a convenience, not as an option, not as something he can mold and shape and rearrange according to his moods. He has to see you as someone who belongs in his life and whose presence genuinely matters. And if he does not see you that way, then baby, you do not have his respect. And without his respect, what you have is not love. It is something else entirely. And that something else is going to drain you dry. Now, every relationship is unique. Every man cherishes different things in his partner. I am not here to hand you a one-size-fits-all formula, because love and relationships are far too complex and far too personal for that. But after hundreds and hundreds of coaching sessions with women all around the world, there are patterns that keep coming up. There are recurring themes, recurring truths, recurring moments where a man either steps fully in or slowly checks out. And I want to talk about those today. I want to pull back the curtain and give you a real, honest, unfiltered look at what makes a man not just like you, but deeply, profoundly respect you. So let us get into it. The first principle is this: you have clear deal breakers. And I cannot stress this enough. If you are constantly finding yourself in situations where you are being disrespected, ignored, jerked around, or left confused about where you stand, then 9 times out of 10, it is not just about the man you are dealing with. It is about the absence of a clear line in the sand. It is about not having your deal breakers defined and locked in before things ever get complicated. Let me give you a personal example. If a woman disrespects my mother, I do not sit down and have a long conversation about it. I do not give her 3 chances to do better. I do not second guess myself wondering if I am overreacting. I walk away. Full stop. No gray area, no room for interpretation. My deal breakers are not secrets. I make them known early. I make them clear. And I do that on purpose because I refuse to find myself in a situation where someone crosses a line that I never clearly drew in the first place. A man deeply respects a woman who holds herself to the same standard, a woman who knows what she will and will not accept, a woman who communicates those things without apology and enforces them without drama. And here is where I see so many women struggling. When I am in coaching sessions, one of the most common things I hear is something like, Ismael, do you think this is a red flag? Or, he did this thing, should I end the relationship? And every single time my answer is the same. Only you can decide what your deal breakers are. I can give you tools, I can give you perspective, I can ask you the right questions, but I cannot feel what you feel. I cannot know what sits right in your soul and what tears it apart. That knowing lives inside you. And until you get quiet enough to hear it, until you sit down and actually think about what you will and absolutely will not tolerate, you are going to keep ending up in situations that slowly chip away at your self-worth without you even realizing it is happening. And if the idea of actually enforcing your deal breakers feels terrifying, if the thought of holding your ground makes your stomach drop, then I want to say something to you with all the love and directness I can manage. You may not be ready for the kind of mature, mutual, deeply respectful relationship you say you want. And that is okay. Readiness is something you build, but you need to know where you stand before you can expect anyone else to stand with you. Deal breakers are not walls. They are not signs of being difficult or hard to love. They are the foundation of how you expect to be treated. They are the standards that protect your peace and attract the right energy into your life. I have worked with a client for a long time who sat down one day and wrote out every single deal breaker she had, every non-negotiable, everything she had been silently tolerating that was eating her alive. And that list became the filter through which she evaluated every man who came into her orbit. And eventually, because of that clarity, she found the love of her life. Not because she lowered her standards, but because she finally understood them clearly enough to hold them steady. The second principle is one that I feel so strongly about, and it is something I see in every single thriving relationship that I have ever witnessed up close. Emotional regulation. The ability to feel your feelings without becoming your feelings. The ability to sit in the heat of a moment and still choose how you respond instead of just reacting to whatever is being thrown at you. Now, before I go any further, let me be crystal clear about something. Emotional regulation is not about being cold. It is not about suppressing what you feel or pretending that things do not hurt or that you are made of stone. It is not about performing some robotic version of calm that has nothing to do with what is actually going on inside you. It is the exact opposite of that. Emotional regulation is about knowing yourself so deeply, so honestly, so completely, that even when things get hard, and things will get hard, you can step back, process what you are actually feeling, and then choose your response with intention instead of just firing from the hip. In the most successful relationships I have ever seen, there is usually a woman at the center of them who shows a profound level of emotional maturity, sometimes even more than her partner. And that maturity, that ability to bring steadiness into a storm, does not go unnoticed. Men feel it. They are drawn to it in a way that is almost visceral, because an emotionally grounded woman does not just make the relationship feel safer, she also helps bring him back down to earth when he loses his footing. She becomes the anchor when the sea gets rough. And that kind of woman is beyond attractive to the kind of high-quality man you are trying to bring into your life. Think about this for a second. How often do you argue with yourself in your own mind? Just you, alone, no one else involved, and still you go back and forth. Still you feel the tension. Still you feel the frustration or the hurt or the confusion. That happens with just you. Now add another person into the mix. Someone you share your space with, your time with, your dreams with, your fears with. Of course there is going to be conflict. Of course there are going to be moments where things feel heavy and complicated and hard. The question is not whether conflict will show up. It will. The question is what you do when it does. And that is the difference maker. That is where emotional maturity either becomes the bridge that holds the relationship together, or the absence of it becomes the crack that splits everything apart. The third principle hits a little differently, and I want you to sit with it. You speak highly of men. Specifically, you speak highly of the men in your life and in the world around you. And I know that might feel complicated for some of you, especially if you have been burned before. Especially if you have had experiences with men that left you wounded and guarded and rightfully skeptical. I see you. I acknowledge that. And I am not here to tell you to pretend that bad things did not happen, or that every man deserves your praise. What I am saying is something more nuanced and more powerful than that. One of the quotes I am most known for is this: "When you disrespect a man, you also disrespect the one who raised him." And that same energy runs in both directions. The men in your life, your father, your brother, your son, the men you grew up around, the men who shaped you, they are all part of a picture. And how you talk about men in general says something about how you see that picture. It says something about what you believe is possible. It says something about whether you have made peace with the complicated, imperfect, deeply human reality of what men actually are. Before you go out of your way to talk badly about a man, even if you believe in your heart that he deserves it, pause for just a second and ask yourself this: what does this say about me? Not about him, about me. Because here is what a mature, high-quality man notices. He notices whether you are the kind of woman who rises above or the kind of woman who drags down. He notices whether you choose integrity even when you are angry, or whether your anger gets to call the shots. And the woman who chooses fairness and dignity even in the middle of her pain, that is the woman who commands genuine, lasting respect. Here is a small but telling example from my own life. Sometimes people come after me in the comment section. They say things that are unkind, things that are meant to provoke a reaction, things designed to knock me off balance. And the very first thing that comes to my mind in those moments is genuinely this: I hope she is having a good day. Because anyone who comes out swinging like that is usually carrying something heavy that has nothing to do with me. And if I reply, I always try to do it with kindness, because I am not here to tear anyone down. I am here to lift people up. And that choice, that conscious, deliberate choice to respond with respect instead of reacting with anger, that is a choice that anyone who is watching will remember. The fourth principle is one that a lot of women find surprising and even a little counterintuitive. It is this: have the courage to disagree. Respectfully, clearly, honestly, but unapologetically. Because I promise you, agreeing with everything a man says or does is not the path to his deepest respect. In fact, it might be doing the exact opposite of what you think it is doing. In my personal experience and in years of professional coaching, I have found something that is consistently true. Men have enormous respect for women who are bold enough to say what they actually think, even when what they think runs counter to what he thinks. The ability to express an opposing view in a way that is constructive, honest, and grounded is one of the rarest and most attractive qualities a person can have. It means you are not just telling him what he wants to hear. It means you actually have a perspective. It means you have done the thinking. It means you are bringing something real to the table. Think about when you turn to your best girlfriend for advice on something that really matters. The first thing you say is this: I need you to be completely honest with me. I do not want you to sugarcoat it. I need the real truth, even if it hurts. And you say that because you trust her enough to know that what she says is coming from a genuine place. That she cares enough about you to tell you the hard thing instead of the comfortable thing. That is exactly what a man who wants a real relationship wants from his woman. Not a yes machine. Not someone who mirrors everything back at him without pushing back. He wants someone who sees him clearly enough to challenge him when he needs it, and who loves him enough to do it with honesty and grace. And yes, sometimes delivering that truth is going to create tension. Sometimes the room is going to get a little quiet after you say your piece. But I want you to know this: when the night comes and he is alone with his thoughts, he is going to be turning over everything you said. He is going to be sitting with it. And more often than not, he is going to come back to you with more respect than he had before. Because you showed him that you are someone who can be trusted with the full weight of reality, not just the pretty parts of it. And the fifth and final principle is one that people do not talk about nearly enough, and it is this. Keep a well-respected network around you. The people you surround yourself with say something about who you are. Not because birds of a feather always flock together in some rigid and deterministic way, but because the energy you choose to stay close to reveals what you believe you deserve. And a man pays very close attention to that. When a man sees you out in public or hears you talk about your friendships and your social circles, he is quietly running an analysis. He is watching how you interact. He is listening to how you talk about the people closest to you. He is noticing whether the women in your life are women who hold themselves with dignity, who take ownership of their choices, who build instead of destroy. Because when you are around people who move through the world with self-respect and genuine strength, it tells him something powerful about you. It tells him that you value yourself enough to require that standard from the people in your orbit. But flip that coin over. If your closest friends are constantly playing the victim, if they manipulate situations to get what they want, if they never take responsibility for the role they play in their own struggles, if the dynamic between you and your girls is one built on enabling instead of elevating, then he is going to notice that too, and not in a good way. Over time, he is going to start wondering why you stay, why you accept that energy, why you have not walked away from something that is clearly not serving you. And that question is going to start seeping into how he sees you, and eventually into how he treats you. Not because he is a bad person, but because subconsciously he is going to start thinking that if you accept that kind of behavior from the people you call your closest friends, then maybe you will accept it from him too. And that is how toxic dynamics creep into relationships that started out with real potential. So take a long, honest look at your circle, not to judge them, not to write anyone off without care and consideration, but to ask yourself truthfully whether the people closest to you are making you better. Are they challenging you? Are they holding you accountable? Are they the kind of women who would tell you the hard truth when you need it? Are they building lives that reflect their worth? Because the company you keep is not just a reflection of who you are right now. It is also a signal of where you are headed. Now let me close with something because I hear this from so many of you, and I want to address it head on with all the directness I have. The most common pushback I get, the thing that comes up over and over again in my sessions and in the comments, is something that sounds like this. Ismael, if a man truly loves me, he should love me exactly as I am. Full stop. And I understand the feeling behind that, I really do. It comes from a real place. It comes from having been changed or shaped or molded to fit someone else's idea of who you should be. It comes from the exhaustion of spending years shrinking yourself to make other people comfortable. And that is valid. That hurt is valid. But here is where I need to gently challenge that thinking. Because there is a very important distinction that is getting lost in that statement. There is a difference between someone trying to change who you fundamentally are, trying to erase your values, your identity, your voice, your essence, and someone encouraging you to grow. Those are not the same thing. And if you are treating them as if they are, you are cutting yourself off from one of the most beautiful and necessary parts of being alive. Growth is not erasure. Growth is expansion. It is not about tearing down the person you already are. It is about adding new dimensions to her. It is about becoming more of yourself, not less. The most complete, most vibrant, most deeply alive version of you is not the version that stopped growing. It is the version that kept reaching, even when reaching felt uncomfortable. The love you deserve is not the love that keeps you exactly where you are. The love you deserve is the love that sees who you are right now and also sees who you are becoming and stays through both. So do not confuse the love that challenges you with the love that diminishes you. Learn to tell the difference, because one is a gift and the other is a warning sign. Those are the 5 principles. Clear deal breakers that protect your peace and define your standards. Emotional regulation that keeps you grounded and makes you magnetic. Speaking highly of men in a way that reflects your own integrity and character. The courage to disagree and bring your full, honest perspective to the relationship. And a network of people around you who reflect and reinforce the value you know you carry. These are not things you do to perform for a man. These are things you do because they make you more fully and powerfully yourself. And the right man, the kind of man who is genuinely worthy of everything you have to offer, is going to see all of that and feel it and want to step all the way up to meet it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing to invest in yourself in this way. I am genuinely glad you found your way to this space because, like I always say, for your relationships to change, you need to change. Not because you are not enough, but because becoming more of who you truly are is the most powerful thing you can ever do. Have a truly beautiful, powerful, and deeply fulfilling day ahead.